Our I can statement for today is I can explain and apply the rules for dividing integers. So the cool thing is that the rules we learned last time with multiplication apply the same for division problems. So we're going to go ahead and fill out this table. Okay, so take a moment, pause the video if you need to, and think through what the rules are for each of these scenarios. And then start the video up again when you're ready to check your answers. All right, if we have a positive number being divided by a positive number, the answer will always be positive. If we have a negative number dividing a negative number, the answer will always be positive. These are different from the addition rules, so make sure you don't get those confused. But if you have the same sign for multiplication and division, then the answer will be positive. So that's one way to summarize those first two scenarios. Now, if we have a positive divided by a negative, the answer is always negative. And if we have a negative divided by a positive, the answer is always negative. So the summary of these two scenarios is if we have two different signs when we're multiplying or dividing, the answer is always negative. So it's important to note that the rules for multiplication and division are always the same. When we talk about the rules for addition and subtraction, there are cases where it's a sometimes positive and sometimes negative. So remember to make sure that you keep those rules separate. So we have a positive divided by a positive, so it stays positive. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. We have a negative divided by a positive. Since they're different signs, we know that we have to have a negative for the answer. And 12 divided by 3 is still 4. So negative 4 is our final answer for this one. Now in this case, we have two negatives. Negative 12 divided by negative 3. And remember, if we have the same sign, then it means that it is a positive result. So our answer is positive 4 again. For this one, we have positive 12 divided by negative 3. Since there's just one negative here, we have different signs. I'm going to have a negative for the answer and negative 4 as my final answer. So a strategy that I recommend with these problems is determine the sign of your answer first, then you can focus on the multiplication or division like we've always done. Now, before we start on this one, it's important to note that even though this is written like a fraction, remember that a fraction bar is equivalent to a division sign. We could rewrite this as 16 divided by negative 4, and they would be equivalent expressions. So that's something that's important to note, is that you could always think of a fraction bar as a division problem. So 16 divided by negative 4, my answer is going to be negative because I have two different signs, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. So negative 4 is my final answer for this problem. Try this one on your own. Remember to think of it as a division problem. Remember to think about what our sign for our final answer will be. Pause if you need to. So we have a negative divided by a negative, which gives me a positive. 18 divided by 9 is 2. So positive 2 is my final answer for number 6. Okay, these two problems I've included because a lot of people get them confused. So I want you to take a moment to think to yourself what the correct answer would be for these two problems. Pause the video if you need to. All right, any number divided by 1 is the same number itself. So number 7 is 14, okay? And for number 8, any number divided by itself is 1, okay? If I have a 14-slice pizza and I want to divide that into 14 serving sizes, then the serving size is 1 slice. Compared to the previous example, if I have a 14-slice pizza and I want to divide it into 1 serving, that means that a serving of pizza is 14 slices in this example. So that's the difference between these two. All right, with this one, we want to make sure that we always go from left to right. If we go out of order, for example, if we did the division between -8 and -2 first, we will get the wrong answer because we aren't following order of operations. So I'm going to start out by finding the quotient of -48 and -8. Negative divided by negative is positive. 48 divided by 8 is 6. Got that? So that's the quotient of the first two. Then I'm going to bring down the rest of the problem. I have 6 divided by -2. Positive divided by a negative gives me a negative answer. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So -3 is my final answer. Remember, you can always watch this video as many times as you need to, pause where you need to, so that you make sure that you understand the concepts.